What if I told you the very parts of yourself you're most ashamed of are the keys to your healing? That the anger, the jealousy, the fear, they aren't flaws, they're messages. You're not broken, you're fragmented. And the part of you you've been running from is actually trying to set you free. This is the shadow. And until you face it, it will run your life from the dark. Carl Jung famously said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." Shadow work, then, is the sacred and necessary task of becoming whole, not perfect, by befriending what we once feared within. The shadow is not your enemy. It's your path to liberation. And this is a topic that I'm extremely passionate about because since I've adopted into my mindset and my worldview the process of shadow work, I've experienced tremendous transformation in my life, from releasing blocked emotion, dense energy in my body, releasing it through my chakras. I've healed my nervous system. I've become much more in control over my emotions and my reactions to everything. I've experienced deep joy and peace within. And all the relationships within my life have shifted since I shifted the relationship with myself. So in this video, we're going to talk about what is the shadow, how is it formed, how does it present itself in your life, and what are the benefits of shadow work. So what is the shadow? The shadow is a survival mechanism of your mind. It's a part of your humanness. It's not a defect. No one goes through childhood and gets out without a shadow. So it's not only people who are broken that have a shadow. Everyone has a shadow. Okay? This survival mechanism is what allows us to adapt to our social surroundings, whether it's our family or school, society. All of these things play a part in forming our shadow. And the shadow is the parts of ourselves that we have repressed. We've hidden them. We've rejected them. We've denied parts of ourselves. They then go into our unconscious mind. They don't go away. They stay there. And they control our lives from the shadows of the unconscious. Okay? They play out every day in every interaction that we have, but we're unaware of them. Why are we unaware of them? Because we're unconscious of them, even though we can see them. But when we're unaware, we're unconscious, we deny them and they stay in the shadows controlling us. Okay, so it's important to remember that 95% of our mind is in the unconscious part. Okay, we have a part of our conscious mind that we have a self-identity and we interact with people. We're conscious of that identity. But this part of ourselves that we don't accept into that prescribed definition of who we are, our self-identity, we've denied it. It goes into the depths of our mind. And these are traits that we've had to deem as unacceptable, painful, inconvenient to our conscious identity. They're traits that we disown or disapprove. Things like anger or jealousy, greed, fear, neediness, anything that expressed itself in early childhood that we got cues from the people around us that this was not acceptable. We also have wounds and trauma that we haven't faced. Now, I did a recent video on trauma, and it's important to note about trauma is that trauma is not just extreme abuse. Okay, it's any event that fragments our mind. And when we're in childhood, where most of our shadow is formed, for the most part, up till about age 7 is what the consensus is. Now, when we experience conflict in our mind, whatever it is, we split. And this is a natural process that happens. Like I said, it's a survival mechanism to allow us to adapt to our surroundings, okay? It's created to preserve our self-image and to remain acceptable to our family, friends, and society. Like I said, it's repressed. It's not gone. It operates from the unconscious mind, shapes our thoughts, emotions, our behaviors through our projections, our triggers, and our patterns. It's important to remember, though, that the shadow is a veil. It's like a distorted lens. And what the shadow does is it creates a safe space where we're comfortable, and around that safe space is fear, okay? But behind that wall of fear is repressed guilt and shame. These are the roots of what's being repressed. We were confused when we were a child. It didn't make sense to us, so our mind split. It pushed shame or guilt, anything that we felt we couldn't be. Anytime when we were a child and we wanted to express our authentic self, but we were met with resistance from someone, from somewhere. This part of our authentic expression we put into our unconscious mind, unconsciously, okay? But it's not gone. It's still there. It's controlling you until we gain awareness of it and we have the courage to go into our shadow mind. We'll still be controlled by it. One of the most important things about the shadow is that it's not evil. It's not good or bad. There are both positive and negative traits within. It's unintegrated parts of ourselves. Integration is what brings us into wholeness. This is what allows us to express our true authenticity, to connect to our soul, the divine part of ourselves that wants to express itself in human form, but it's met through this lens of distortion because our subconscious mind is trying to keep us safe. You know, the shadow, it's important that the shadow, we never see the shadow as an enemy. In the most positive way to look at it, it's trying to protect us. And that's what it did in childhood. It was trying to protect us. It's important when we go into looking at the shadow that we don't see it as something that's wrong with us or something that we need to fix. It's something that we need to integrate into our wholeness. And when we do that, we unleash the full power of our divine self expressing itself through our humanness. It's the guardian of our hidden power. It's a spiritual mirror of where we are. Still fragmented or resistant to love. These things are why we go into the shadow. We're not trying to fix them. We're trying to identify them and become aware of them so that we can bring it into the fold. We're never trying to get rid of parts of our shadow. That's the wrong approach. This has to be approached with love and compassion for ourselves. And when we go into our shadow and we find these parts of ourselves that we've hidden or repressed, when we go into it with love and compassion, that changes the game for how we then view the world externally. If we develop a relationship of love and compassion with the parts of ourselves that we had deemed unlovable, and we bring them into our wholeness, the way that we interact with the world is with love and compassion, and it reflects outward. All right. So we see these repressed and denied parts of ourselves through our projections, our triggers, sabotage patterns, addictions, our compulsions. But our shadow is our sacred teacher. We don't want to destroy it. We want to embrace it. It is a portal back to our wholeness. It is a fragmentation of the self, and our goal is for wholeness. All right. So how does the shadow form? And I like to think of how the shadow forms is when we incarnate in human form and our soul comes into our little baby body. There's a sacred essence to our soul, a purity of our consciousness, an infiniteness of possibility. But the process of becoming human is that we must adapt for our survival. This is a a deep-seated, it goes back to, well, to the beginning when we started to incarnate in human form, and we have to adapt for survival. Now, we're lucky that we stand at this point in human history where we are both a part of an individual awakening, but also a collective awakening of human consciousness. So we can look at it like as we come into human incarnation with a purity of our essence, and then through adapting into human form, self-identity formation, the shadow is formed. And then as we grow into adulthood, now we have the opportunity to go back and to address these issues that we had no idea of how to face when we were a child. Because when we're a child, we're not like we are an adult. Our mind doesn't work the same. We haven't fully developed. So as a child, we're in this sort of state of open hypnosis. We're open to suggestion from everywhere. We need to survive, so we have to take in what is acceptable from our parents, but also then it's sort of like our friends, our schooling, society in general. So there's an openness, like a self-hypnosis that we allow this almost brainwashing in a way, but it's part of the human formation. We have to go through this process to become human. So we take in things from authority figures that we need to survive to get approval from them. It's a survival adaptation of identity formation. Why? We have to secure love, safety, and belonging. Okay? So we accept traits of ourselves that are rewarded, like being quiet, being well-behaved, polite, responsible, and we reject the traits that are punished or shamed. Now, the shadow forms through repression, okay? And I like to think of it as, take a scenario where, say, you're a child and you're really drawn to something, like outdoors, and you're getting dirty and you're knocking over rocks and you're playing with bugs and frogs and stuff, and you're all dirty, but you were really drawn to being outside and the natural world. But then you come inside and you made your parents late for something, and now they have to clean you up, and you feel this pressure from them of being a burden. You're overwhelming them, and you feel this pressure, but you want to be loved, and you feel that you're not getting loved because you did this thing. And this is part of your parents kind of putting their shadow upon you. It's important to remember that we sort of we're brought into our parents' shadows by how they react to us, and we need love, we need acceptance from them. So we learn that, getting dirty is not going to get me loved. It's not going to get me what I need from my parents. So I'm not going to be outside making them late for things or being a burden. So when you grow up, you've repressed the side of yourself that when you were a child, you really were drawn to the natural world. You really loved bugs and animals and all this stuff. But you pushed it down, so you were good. You had to get approval, so you did your schoolwork, you stayed quiet, you were well behaved. And then you get to this point in your adult life, and either you find resistance to being outside, or you feel yourself drawn to it. But there's a block, there's a layer of fear that is unconscious. It's not rational. It comes out in emotion, and it tells you stay away from that. And you have to go into that fear that says under that there's a shame. Okay, but the thing is that the shame doesn't come out in a rational way. This is an emotional wounding, so we have to approach it in an emotional way. When we were a child and this got formed within us, it wasn't a rational, logical choice. It happened automatically. We had to adapt. It happened unconsciously, and we're unaware of what happened. Okay, but that's just one example. So many of these things are specific to our lives, but there's these common themes of what gets repressed. And it's shame, it's guilt, it's fear, and it's needing approval. And it's both personal to us, but it's also collective. We get a lot of the shadow. We inherit the shadow from our lineage, but also there's a collective societal, and we see it in these archetypes. And Jung talks a lot about these archetypes that are sort of like a collective shadow that we inherit, from the fact that we're human, from our greater collective society, but the things that we put and we label are that, this part of me is bad. My needs are too much. I'm a burden to my parents. My joy is embarrassing. My successes are embarrassing. I have to make myself small. I don't want to be seen. I'm afraid of being seen. It's safer for me if I'm not seen. My power is dangerous. And so we push all these things down, right? But they're the key to uncovering our power. We have created all these masks, these performative masks in childhood to get accepted. And that false self becomes our identity. Okay, whatever is acceptable, we fit into it. And it's not our authentic self. And when we go into our shadow, into our unconscious mind, we can find these woundings, and we can bring them in. We can allow them to be. We can approach them with the love and compassion that they didn't get when you were a child, why your psyche split. All right. The danger about it is that we think that we are these masks. We think that our personality is our performative mask of our self-identity. Okay. But these are just what was created in order to fit in. Now, a lot of this, the majority of this happens in our childhood, up to like 7. But the truth is that we start to see this cyclical repeating of all these patterns, especially through our teenage years. Let's not dismiss our teenage years as being incredibly formative for fitting in and being approved of. All right. But these are repetitive echoes from our earlier childhood. And we talk a lot about inner child healing, but there's certainly a lot to be said for the inner teenager healing as well. But it's important to remember that when we come into adulthood, that the shadow is the raw material of alchemy. This is what we used to transmute into the best versions, the most empowered versions of ourselves. This is a transformative process. And the human experience is one that, whether we like it or not, I'm sure a lot of us would choose to not have to deal with our shadow. Wouldn't that be easy? But the truth of the matter is that we all have our shadow, and it manifests in our lives in certain ways. And some people are afraid to take risks. Other people have no problem taking risks, and they have successful businesses, and they're millionaires and billionaires. But on the other side of their lives, they have incredible problems in their relationships, and they seek love, but they can't ever find it. They're seeking approval in their relationships, but it falls short. These are the things that are in the roots of their shadow, and this is how they express themselves. Some people are different, but at the root of it, it's deep-seated feelings of shame, guilt, and fear, and not being worthy of love. All of us feel that. There's a part of that within all of us. And who do we have to give us that love? Ourselves. We're the only ones that can give us that love. If we want love to that depth externally, we have to go inward. We have to meet ourselves with that love and compassion. That's what we're here to do. If we're here to transmute pain into love, and to raise our consciousness level, to raise our frequency. Oftentimes people think, I want to raise my frequency. But the key to that is going into the depths of these lower, dense emotional frequencies. Okay? Because they're stored in our lower chakras. Our root chakra is Safety. So in childhood, if you were extremely abused and there was no safety in your home, there's going to be blocked energy in your root chakra, and that's some dense energy. As we go up, our sacral chakra, same thing. Our power center in our solar plexus, but our lower chakras are where we're going to store these blockages of our dense energy. Okay, this is what we're going to release when we do shadow work. This is important. One of the most important things for me was my heart chakra was blocked, and I knew it. My heart was blocked, and I knew I had to go into my shadow to release this dense energy in my lower chakras. And doing that has increased the level of my life fulfillment a thousand times, a million times, infinite, a priceless level of inner peace, of being in control of my emotions, not feeling reactivity, not feeling overwhelming emotion of anger or frustration, things that I experienced in the past, aggressiveness. However these emotions that are blocked come out, it's in everybody a little bit differently. Some people are over emotional. Some people are chasing approval, people pleasers, things like that. So that leads us into how does the shadow present itself in your life? So there's three things that we want to look for of how our shadow is presenting itself in our life: resistance, reaction, and repetition. Things that we avoid, things we defend, things we attack. That's a big one. Or when we collapse, when we shut down emotionally. Things that we see in other people that get an emotional trigger out of us. These are the things that we want to look for when we start doing shadow work, to say, what's coming from within me? Because it's really important, and I'm going to say this with all the love and compassion in my heart for you. You have to go into this with complete honesty, love, compassion, but full acceptance of the responsibility that this is on you. This is on you, Chief. This is you. Only you can heal you. Only you can release this blocked energy from your body and from your mind. And only you can integrate this. You can certainly get help from people that have gone through this. That's why I'm here. I'm here to help you. I hope this helps you. I hope you get something out of this. This is not a logical thing that I can just tell you. This is something that you have to go into your shadow. You have to experience this. You have to feel the emotion that's blocked. You have to release that emotion. You have to befriend the part of yourself that you denied and you have repressed. This is an experiential thing. You can't think your way through this. You have to go into it. These are the fires of transformation, the fires of transmutation. This is the alchemy that we talk about. This is being reborn, the rebirth of your soul into your full empowerment, stepping into the sovereignty of your soul, what you're here to do, to get in line, in alignment with your soul's purpose. You have to experience this. Only the bravest of us go into this. And you're brave. You wouldn't be here. This is what you're here for. You wouldn't be here if you weren't equipped to deal with this. And I will say this, all the shadow work that I've done and all the shadow work that I know other people that have done, it hasn't killed any of us. There's a lot of fear that we go into. There's a lot of pain. It hasn't killed me yet, okay? No release of blocked energy has killed me. It's made me stronger. It's made me more confident, more empowered. It has gotten me to the point where I look for triggers, even little triggers, because I'm aware. I want to release this. I want to allow any blockages, any pain, any parts of myself that I haven't met before. I want to meet them. I want to bring them into my wholeness. I want to integrate them, because I've experienced this so many times over so many years, and the effects. I wish I could fully convey to you the tremendous life life-changing effects that this can have over you. Okay, this is why I'm here today, to impart this and to encourage you that you truly do have the bravery to go into this. You have that power. It's within you. You have the bravery. You have the courage. Okay, is there fear? Yeah, there's fear. The first thing you're gonna meet is fear. That was the first thing that I did when I started my shadow work. I got out a piece of paper and I admitted to myself, I said, I am afraid. I let that sink in. I admitted that to myself. For so many years, I tried to cover it with I'm not afraid, I'm not afraid, like these positive affirmations. I'm not afraid, I'm not afraid, thinking that that was gonna change something. What I needed was to sit down and go, I am afraid. To be brave enough to admit that there's a part of us. There's not anyone out there that's not afraid. And anyone that's denying that there's a part of themselves that's afraid, they're denying a humanness. Every human is afraid. Why? Because that's a natural survival mechanism of being a human. It's within us. It's within our nervous system. That's why our nervous system is here, is to protect us from these things. Whether it's, a saber-toothed tiger in the wild of caveman days, or whether it's social approval in high school. It's to protect us. So anybody that says they're not fearful of something, they're denying their shadow. Okay, but to become aware that you are afraid, that's the bravest thing you can do. That's the start of your shadow work. I am afraid. And I started writing down everything that I was afraid about, and I let it sink in. I let it sink in. And I went into it. And I allowed this. And what did I do? When I said I was afraid and I wrote this huge list, I brought this into my conscious awareness. Now I was aware of this. I could say to myself, I am afraid. And there was a lot that needed to be released. Sometimes just the process of accepting that part of yourself releases. Okay? But now I could stand here and I could say, I am afraid. This is a part of me. I'm bringing this into the wholeness of who I am. Now I can make a decision. When I feel that fear, I'm aware of it. I can admit it and I can say, I feel that fear coming up. I've gone into it. I've dealt with this. I've gone into the depths of my shadow. I'm aware of this thing that I'm afraid of. So now it presents itself. It has less emotional power because I released a lot of it, but it didn't go away automatically. I had to bring this into the fold. I had to say, I'm aware of you. Now, once I'm aware of that, I can make a choice. Is allowing this fear to control me what is in line with my higher self or my purpose in life? And I can make that choice. So I have a choice now. Before, I didn't have a choice. Before, when I suppressed fear, it would come up and control me. It would make the decision before I had a chance to make the decision. And then my rational brain, after the fact, would justify it and make an excuse. Right? Like a procrastination. I wanted to do something, but I felt this sense of fear that was unconscious. Remember, it's not rational, it's emotional. So you feel this fear and you recede from it. And then you go, I'll do it tomorrow, or whatever excuse we come up with. We all do this, okay? And that's how the process kind of works, all right? But until we become aware of it, we don't have a choice. It's controlling us from behind the curtain. Okay, so emotional reactivity, when something sets us off and we lose it, right? This is that thing that we go, I'm a good person. This is my self-image. That's my conscious self-image. We don't sit around and go, I'm extremely reactive to things that other people do. We sort of project that onto them, and we have this reaction, and then we project it outward. It was something they did to us. But the truth is that we have this unresolved trauma, or whatever it is, this blockage within our unconscious mind that we haven't dealt with. Okay, so we have triggers, we have anger, envy, shame, fear, guilt, all these things that come up. Okay, our projections, qualities in others that we judge harshly, things we see in other people that trigger us. And usually it's because there's something in them that we see within us that we either wish we could be, or we see a mirror and we're ashamed of that. So there's something that we've repressed that we see in someone else, and that fear and that shame come up, and we're repulsed by it. So we reject them, right? But we're really rejecting a part of ourselves. That's projection is kind of seeing ourselves in other people. You know, a lot of the things is patterns and sabotage. Okay, patterns. You look at your life and you can say, you know, am I seeing a pattern in my relationships, one relationship after another, of the same thing? I'm trying to people please and I'm not getting the love that I feel like I need. But at the base of it, am I giving myself that love, or am I seeking it externally? You know, was this a pattern that I learned from my parents? Did I seek love in someone else? Did I try to make them happy because they were unstable emotionally? Did I internalize my parents' emotional needs? Did I put them before me? And then there's this pattern that I see in my adult relationships where I'm putting someone else's emotional needs before mine, right? Am I staying in a bad job even though I know it's not good for me? I did that for years. I was a corporate job that I hated. It sucked the soul out of me. I knew that, right? But why do we do that? Because we're in a comfort zone, right? And the shadow loves a comfort zone, even though it might not be good for us. That was the protective safety that it created, right? And there's a fear of risking going outside of that. So you get comfortable in that crappy job that you hate, until you get to the point where you're like, all right, you know, let's break through this fear. Let's go outside this. Let's do something new. Let's take a risk. But you have to face that fear. You have to lean into the fear. You have to push that wall of fear a little bit further. All right, you take that comfort zone. The risk becomes comfortable. The more you do it, you become more confident in your being uncomfortable, leaning into that fear, right? So, like I said, unconscious beliefs and identities. I know the shadow. One of the things that our shadow takes in is sort of like, what group do we fit into? What's our identity in our group setting? A nationalistic sense of us versus them, political leanings. All these external things are part of our unconsciousness, and we form it early on. Where who do we want to fit into? We find a group, and you know, sometimes we search for that group to find that group to fit into, and that becomes part of our identity, right? You know, who are we? Are we lovable? Are we unlovable? Are we the good kid? Are we the bad kid? These are identities that we can form when we're a child, you know. And it's strange to think that our identity could be formed as the bad kid, but that can become comfortable, and then, you know, it's the same sort of identity formation as the good kid. The good kid can be the people pleaser. We're still repressing parts of ourselves, one way or the other. Okay, sometimes the shadow self can present itself in dreams symbolically, and we can see these things in our dreams. And until we gain the awareness to be able to interpret them, we might not understand why these dreams are the way that they are. Okay, another way that we can see our shadow present itself, and you know, I think if you're watching this far, you're on your spiritual journey, the path of higher consciousness. And one of the things that we see the shadow present itself is what's called spiritual bypassing. And this is when we don't face our shadow, but we seek that love and light. And, you know, there's like almost like a split personality where someone presents themselves with this identity of spiritualness, and it's, you know, love and light, but there's also this side of them that could be passive aggressive. It could be controlling in their friendships. And anybody that's met somebody like this, you feel that control. They're trying to, you know, passive aggressively do these things, but they're unaware of it, right? They could never accept that that's who they are, because their identity is formed around, I'm a good person, right? So, you know, this avoiding of unresolved pain is at the root of spiritual bypassing. You know, we adopt sometimes spiritual personas. this desire to be good, to be pure, to be above worldly concerns. Oftentimes it's just an ego construct from our shadow selves. All right. So here's some signs of the shadow. People pleasing. That's a big one that a lot of people deal with. That's a really hard one. And where's that rooted? It's rooted in this need to be accepted by the people around us. Putting our need for self-love above, putting other people's need for love above ourselves. Procrastination is another one. Procrastination, sometimes people think it's like perfectionism, but it's actually rooted in this sense of not being good enough. That it's not ready yet. Whatever it is, I'm going to put it off until it's ready. Until it's ready, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. And it's rooted in the sense that we're not good enough yet. Perfectionism is another one that we see, and that's a really tough one. And that is going above and beyond for external approval. Someday when I achieve this thing, I will then be worthy of external love. But the truth is that it's someday I'll be worthy of my own love. Addiction is another one. Addiction, every time you look at addiction not as addiction, but what is being suppressed, what's being pushed down, what guilt, what shame, what fear is being pushed down. Emotional numbing and suppression. Okay, that goes along with that. Chronic indecision, this fear of being paralyzed to act. Fear. The fear is coming out of the unconscious mind and making this decision. And you're sort of like this deer in the headlights and you can't make a decision. Another one is imposter syndrome. That's rooted in this self-identity. That's like, I'm this self-identity. If I do something outside of that, people will judge me. They'll say, that's not me. I'm judging myself from within my shadow. I'm judging myself and saying, I'm the imposter. I shouldn't be doing this thing. I shouldn't be on YouTube talking about this, or I shouldn't be, expressing myself as an artist, even though I want to paint, or whatever it is that you feel this calling to, and you feel like that's not me, people will judge me. Who am I to now reinvent myself and start expressing myself in a different way? A big one is victimhood. That is a big one that we see that comes out from our shadow. And it certainly is rooted in what we were talking about, the early formation of the identity in survival mechanisms. All right, the identity formation of victimhood, of the learned response of getting affection through playing the victim, getting emotional. Anytime we were held accountable, we see that as an attack. And that attack triggers an emotional response. That's a big one. Victimhood is definitely rooted deep in the shadow. Over apologizing, that goes along with people pleasing, but it's this need for acceptance, putting someone else's needs over our needs. All right, control issues, that's a big one too. Usually control issues is in the sense of not being in control inside, needing to control things. Right? Hyper independence. Sometimes we use that as a badge of honor. I'm hyper independent, but once again, it's a survival mechanism, from childhood. Oftentimes, the independent child is labeled as the good child because they're not putting a burden of their own needs upon their parents. Okay, this is one I dealt with. Right? Repressed anger. If you're a child and you have emotions and you express them in anger, but you're told you can't behave like that, you push it down. I have to be the good child. I can't express my emotions, right? I don't want to be unloved by my parents, right? Chronic anxiety. That's another one too. Certainly rooted in this instability from early childhood. And the weird thing is that these emotional states become normal. Okay, so normal is safe to the unconscious shadow. Okay, That's the weird part that's why I mean it's not logical, it's not rational, it's an emotional response. Okay, so normal can be anxiety because that was our safety response, to be on pins and needles around our parents. That was what we learned, to be hyper vigilant. What are the needs of everyone around me so that I don't get in trouble, so that they don't feel burdened? All these things, So the truth is that these are all ways that they express themselves in your life. So if you see them, you can, once you become aware of what the shadow is, you go, let me go a level deeper. Let me see what's behind this people pleasing. Where does that go? Where are these reverberations through my life that lead back to a formative childhood experience? Okay, so what is shadow work, and why is it essential for healing? Okay, so shadow work is a name. It's just a name for a process of becoming aware of these unconscious beliefs, behaviors, and emotions. It's becoming the observer of your own reactions. Okay, it's acknowledging them. It's allowing them to be. It's charting them as sort of like a map of your unconscious mind and how it presents itself. Because the important thing about this is the shadow, even though it's unconscious, it does everything it can to tell you it's there, if you just allow yourself to become aware of it. Anytime you get an emotional reaction, stop. Don't blame the other person. Say, where is this rooted in me? How can I heal this? Because do you want other people to be able to control your emotions? Or do you want to be in control of your own emotions? Do you want to be at the whim of external stimuli? Or do you want to be in control of yourself? And when you're in control of yourself, you become aligned with your purpose and your higher self and your true intuition, your soul's intuition, which is not emotional. It's intuitive. It's a peaceful communication. It's it's seeing through the lens of the distortions of the shadow. Okay, because the shadow is not just one layer. It's like an onion. The layers are, peel one layer at a time away, and over time you see through it clearer because the distorted lenses have been lifted. Your awareness now sees through it clearer. Your consciousness can now see through clearer. So you see events in the world through a different lens. You see relationships through a different lens. All your relationships with everything changes. The depth of your awareness, that's a big one. You become more present. Okay, your depth of presence becomes increased. Okay, what you see in other people changes. What you see of yourself in other people changes. The depth of the love and compassion that you have for yourself is reflected in the depth and the love and the compassion that you have for other people, and by extension, all of humanity. Okay, so shadow work reclaims wholeness. Because like I said, integration is the process of shadow work where you are bringing these parts of yourself from the shadow into your whole. You're not processing them and then pushing them away. You're bringing them into your conscious identity of the wholeness of who you are. It ends the inner war, the conflict between yourself. That is this self-identity that denies the shadow traits that you've repressed. This conflict, it ends that. And when you end conflict within yourself, it ends conflict with other people and the world. You see the world through a lens where there's no conflict. The ego, the unconscious ego construct of our persona, of our identity, the ego sees conflict because it has this sense of us versus them, me, you, this separation. Okay, that's the survival mechanism. Me. you're separate from me. So there's a conflict, okay? But once you break through those layers, you get closer to experiencing oneness. Wholeness is what we're talking about, okay? And if this is something, if you're watching at this point and this is something that you're interested in, this is why I'm doing this. It's going to unlock your authentic power, your soul's true empowerment. Okay? You're going to have power for boundaries, to set boundaries with yourself first and with other people, especially if you were a people pleaser. Okay? Setting boundaries is one of the hardest things, all right? But when you start with love and compassion for what your needs are, and you can place boundaries with yourself for your own acceptable behavior, you can do that for other people. It just becomes an extension of what's going on inside you. Okay? So you unlock creativity that was once suppressed, latent talents that you were drawn to. Maybe you wanted to be a painter, but that wasn't acceptable in your household. Now you unlock this talent. Maybe you're not good at it at first, but you express yourself and it feels good and you feel creative, and creative energy now is flowing through you. Why? Because you've unlocked the blockages in your lower chakras. So now energy can flow up, and this creative energy can express itself creatively. Okay? You can unlock your sexuality. Repressed sexuality is blocks of energy in your sacral chakra. Okay? That certainly formed in childhood and can be certainly exacerbated through any sort of abuse traumas, serious abuse traumas. That's going to be some serious blockages of energy in your lower chakras, your sacral, and definitely your root chakra if you didn't have safety. What happens is, if those are blocked, you're not grounded. But when you unlock those chakras, you feel grounded. You're grounded to the earth. That's really important, especially when we're going through this evolution of human consciousness. We need people that are grounded. Okay, because a lot of this stuff that's happening, it doesn't make sense, and it can be really, really confusing when you look out into the world. But if you can stay grounded, you can understand what's happening. Okay, systems are breaking down. Things can look like chaos, but it's transformation. New systems are coming about. Okay, but internally we have to make that change first. We have to be grounded. Okay, you lower you release those blocked emotional energy in your lower chakras, and the energy can get up to your heart, and your heart chakra can open up. You release any blockages in your heart, and your throat chakra opens, but your heart's not going to fully open until those lower chakras are cleared. Okay, so it's not only just that you go into the shadow work because I don't know, there's a real tangible reason of why you do this. You feel a lightness, there's joy, a depth of joy that you can experience when you go through this process. Inner peace, inner stillness, deep presence, non-reactivity, a sense of control within yourself. Okay, it's going to transform repetitiveness in your life into revelation. These repeated patterns, you're going to be able to see these patterns, and you're going to be able to make choices to change. And the more choices that you make that change these patterns, the more you can rewire the neural pathways in your brain. And these habits that became repetitive, you can rewire them. These new behaviors that create new results in your life. You can take new action that you were afraid of taking before. This action is what's going to lead to creating a new life for yourself, whatever that looks like. But you're going to know once you go through this this liberation process, liberating yourself from this deep, dense energy. This liberation process is going to allow you to get in contact with, where do I want to steer my life? I want to become the driver of my life, not the passenger. I want to happen to life. I don't want life to happen to me. Okay? This clears the path to higher consciousness. This awareness that we talk about, this is an expansion of consciousness. The expansion of consciousness begins with the expansion of consciousness of our own selves. Okay? When we see through these lenses, these filters, these layers of the onion, of the matrix, of the shadow, when we see through them, when we clear them away, our consciousness is expanding. Our frequency is rising. We become more connected to our divine nature. Our upper chakras receive. Okay? We're grounded in our lower chakras. Our upper chakras are now attuned to receiving. In the center, we have an open heart. Okay? So, opening of the heart is probably one of the biggest benefits of this, at least on my journey. And you have to go into this healing process with love and compassion. Okay? You have to have love and compassion for the parts of ourselves that were unlovable. They were unlovable. We deemed them unlovable. We pushed them in and repressed them into the deep, dark depths of our unconscious mind. Until we're able to love the unlovable parts of ourselves, we can't become whole. Okay? And it's that love and compassion that we have for ourselves that is truly representative of that open heart, because it extends outward to other people. Deep empathy, compassion, connection. When we have a deeper sense of connection to ourselves, we have deeper connection with other people, with nature, with animals, with our creativity. All these things, we have a deeper connection. The depth of our conscious awareness increases. All right. So to do shadow work is to become the healer, the mystic, and the lover of your own soul. It's certainly not easy, but it is liberating. It turns suffering into wisdom, turns fragmentation into integration, and fear into fierce self-acceptance. So if this resonated with you, I want to thank you for watching, and leave a comment. Tell me about your experience, or if this meant something to you, if this was helpful to you. Please like and subscribe. But most importantly, if it meant something and you think there's somebody in your life that you want to share it with, that it could be helpful to them, please share that with them. Also too, I do offer one-on-one conscious empowerment coaching. If you feel a call to go deep into the healing of your shadow selves and bring yourself into empowerment and change your life, feel a deeper sense of joy and satisfaction, and connect with what you're here as a human to experience, to let go of that burden that life can feel like, the overwhelm of being emotionally reactive to everything. If you feel called, I'll leave a link to my form down in the comments. And I just want to thank you so much for watching. And just may God bless you all. Thank you. I love you.